As a filmmaker, a shoulder rig is a very important part of my gear, which I use on almost every shoot. But a rig like this can get pretty expensive, sometimes even more than the camera that's on it. When I started filmmaking, I wish I had a shoulder rig, but sturdy and functional options were way out of my budget. You can get a shoulder rig for under $200 on Amazon from brands like Newer, Small Rig, and Nicey Rig, but they are pretty expensive, don't have a quick release plate, and they aren't the most ergonomic. And that's why I decided to build my own, which I hope can be a good option for you. The goal was to make a no-fuss shoulder rig that works in any situation, doesn't take much space, can be customized, but most importantly, that works for people who don't have an external monitor. And I think I succeeded. With just a couple of 3D printed parts, some aluminum tubes, and a quick release plate, you can build your own shoulder rig in just a couple of hours. I'll make the 3D files available for you guys, along with a list of the hardware required to make this project. Let's jump into the build. First, you'll have to 3D print the parts. I recommend using PETG as it's more resistant to heat and impacts than PLA, and it costs about the same. I printed everything at a 0.3mm layer height with a 50% Jared infill and 3 walls. Here's how I recommend to orient the prints to have the sturdiest parts possible. The base plate can lay on its flat side with every overhang supported. The handles should be upside down with the lower side supported. The shoulder pad can lay upright without any supports. The 90-degree brackets only need support inside the tubes, and the knob can lay upright without any supports. Once all your parts have been printed, you should be left with a base plate, a small knob, a shoulder pad, 2 90-degree brackets, and 2 ergonomic handles. As for hardware, you'll need 4 1-inch thick aluminum tubes. One that's 13 inches, one that's 10 inches, and 2 shorter ones for the handles. Mine are 5 inches. Then you also need a P200 quick release plate, which you can find on Amazon for pretty cheap by many different brands. Next, you'll need 4 1-inch long *20 screws, 9 40mm long M6 screws, and a 1-inch long *20 bolt with the matching nut. To cut the aluminum tubes to length, I like to use a pipe cutter like this one, as they are the cheapest option and they don't make a mess. Start the build with your 2 base plates. Put the P200 plate over the 3D printed one and make sure the red knob is on the side that doesn't protrude outwards. Flip that over and add the 4 *20 screws. You should end up with this. With the knob on the left side, it should be free to turn 360 degrees. Next, take the 3D printed knob and insert the *20 bolt in it. You might need some heat and another bolt to push it in place. With that done, push the nut in place on the base plate and screw in the knob. This is the system that will let you adjust the angle of your handles. Moving on to the shoulder pad, insert the 13-inch tube in place, mark the hole placement with a Sharpie and drill them. I already did that when testing the assembly for this rig. Finally, driving the screws and you're done. Now insert the 13-inch tube onto the base plate assembly. Make sure the shoulder pad and base plate are perfectly parallel and mark the placement for the hole. Then drill it out. Push the tube back in place and drive in the screw, leaving you with a very sturdy assembly. Now let's make the handles. Take one of the shorter tubes and insert it in one of the 90-degree brackets. Mark the hole placement, drill the hole, and drive in the screw. You can follow the same steps to attach the handle itself to the other end of the tube. Repeat all of that to assemble the other handle. Now take out your 10-inch long tube and some masking tape. As you can see, even if we tighten the knob on the base plate assembly, there's not enough friction to prevent the tube from spinning. By covering it with masking tape, there's a lot more friction and there's no way the tube is going to move now. So attach one of your handles to the 10-inch tube, then insert it in the base plate assembly, insert the remaining handle and drive in the screw, and your shoulder rig is finished. This part is totally optional, but I added 2 1/4-inch holes under the shoulder rig, which lets you attach a Manfrotto plate that comes with the P200 base plate. This will let you dock the rig on any tripod. And here is the finished shoulder rig. I'm really happy with the result. Not only does it look professional, but you can totally change the length of the aluminum tubes to fit your needs. The system to adjust the handle works really well, and the shoulder pad is surprisingly comfortable. Of course, you could add soft padding to make it even better if you want. And the P200 quick release plate makes using this rig much simpler. All you have to do is to make sure you have a Manfrotto style base plate under your camera, slide it into the base plate and tighten the knob. Using the shoulder rig feels great. It's lightweight, comfortable, and the camera LCD is far enough from my face that I don't have to tilt my head back to see what's going on. I found that by simply changing the angle of the handles, you can transform the shoulder rig into a hip rig that is surprisingly comfortable to use. Although I recommend using small, light lenses with this rig, I prefer using a good zoom lens for the versatility it offers. Even with a big RF 24-70 lens, I found that the rig doesn't feel heavy even if all the weight is in the front. Remember the Manfrotto plate we added under the rig? It's perfect to dock it on a tripod for locked off shots. And the handles on the rig are perfect to help you make smooth pans and tilts. I added 3/4-inch holes on the rig which let you use cold shoe adapters. Simply screw them in place and you can easily add your favorite accessories to the rig. Obviously, this rig wasn't designed for a big cinema camera, but I wanted to see how it would feel with my C70 on it. I was sure it would be way too heavy, but actually it was manageable. I wouldn't do a long shoot with such a heavy camera in front of me like that, but hey, it works. And you have to admit that the rig looks epic with such a big camera on it. So yeah, that's it. I think I accomplished my mission of creating a good option for anyone with a small budget who wants their own shoulder rig without having to do any compromises. As long as you have access to a 3D printer and you have a couple of hours to make this project, I think this is the best option for you. The cost for this thing is around $50 to $70 Canadian, which is less than half the price of any available option online. You can find everything you need apart from the aluminum tubes on Amazon, and the tubes can be found at Home Depot or any other hardware store. So if you want to build your own shoulder rig following this video, the files are available for just a couple of bucks over in my Etsy store, which is linked in the video description. I find creating DIY rigs like this really fun and I'd like to make more. So if there's one you'd like to see me make next, leave a comment below. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.